Hi friends, and welcome to ScreenVomit, the only movie podcast for normal people. I'm of course your host Kayla. Here with me is my twin Collie J.
Quack quack babies!
Alright, we don't have business today, I don't think, but it is Pride Month. We did pick a queer-ass film, and by we I mean Collie picked this one?
Yeah?
Yeah!
I did.
Collie picked this off my list. So we did the 2020 film No Hard Feelings, aka Future Dry.
Future Dry?
Mm-hmm.
Where, what, who?
Future Dry is the German title.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, was there an alternate title? I never saw this.
Future Dry, it's in German. Those do both sound like American words. Future is possibly the same word in German.
Did you look up the pronunciation of those words?
Dry is 3 in German. I already knew that. Eins, zwei, drei.
Oh, all right. Wait, so then what's the translate to?
The Future 3.
The Future 3? I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
That's a way better title than No Hard Feelings.
There was another alternate title, like that was a working title before they settled on Future Dry, but I don't remember what it was, though.
It really centers it more around the ultimately, like, 3 characters that we come to be most invested in, rather than just Parvis, who I think just basically, I mean, the movie centers around him just more naturally. Yeah. Because he's the first character we really get to.
But with No Hard Feelings, we do also get a titular line, which we love.
You're right. It's pros and cons, baby.
It's pros and cons, yeah. But now we get both. Because
I'm good with this. I'm good with this, yeah.
Yeah, was there a reason you picked this one? I guess since you picked it, you can...
I thought it was an Iranian movie, and that's it. I clicked on it. I saw Iranian, and I'd looked through some of the other ones, and I was like, I'm not really feeling this, not really feeling this. And I wanted to do one that I knew was good.
Yeah.
So I ended up ranking them in order of average score, and this was like 3rd or 4th in order. So I was like, okay, it's got a good rating. I see Iranian somewhere in the description. I've never seen an Iranian movie.
Yeah.
It turns out the movie is an Iranian. Big swing and a miss on my part.
Well, it's sort of. We'll get into it, but
yeah. I've seen German movies. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a film from this country.
But still, I've never seen a German movie that centers around Iranians.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm disappointed. It's just this stupid little check mark in my head where it's like, I can say I've seen an Iranian movie. Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's why I picked it. It looked good, and it seemed to offer me something that was out of my comfort zone. I didn't...
Out of your jurisdiction?
Out of my everything. Yeah. Trust me, I did not vibe with a lot of the vibing in this movie.
Oh, yeah?
Any dancing, any vibing, I'm like, if I were there...
We'll get into this.
I'd say no thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah, one thing I forgot to mention that, I don't know if this is interesting. Me and Collie are in person today.
It is interesting. It's very interesting.
We're very rarely in person, but now, news alert, we live in the same state, so...
WeLiveTogether.com.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's still up.
I don't know.
It's a porno site.
Ew! So, yeah, we're in person today. This is fun for us. All right, so if we're gonna move on into the cast and such, this is Faraz Shariat's directorial film debut. He also wrote this movie. This is a German movie, so everyone in it is mainly German actors, and almost everyone in it, this was either their first thing or like one of the first things they've ever done, so there's not really anybody that we would recognize in it. But just one little cool thing is that the main character's parents are played by the director's parents, his actual parents.
Oh, that's really cute.
I thought that was really cute.
I was gonna say, the parents look too old for that kid. Those are grandmas.
You never know.
I know.
Well, because in the film also, they had been in Germany for a long time before they had him.
Something like 30 years.
Yeah. So, it seems like he was kind of a later in life baby.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's all I'm going to say for cast then. So, Collie, what's our critic scores?
Only 3 cricket scores here. From the heathens over at IMDb, we've got a 6.7 out of 10. Gross.
I don't even know how IMDb collects their reviews.
Out of 10? That's 2. I don't know what the 6 points. That's a terrible metric.
Yeah.
Get it out of here. Out of 5 or nothing. Or percentages. We'll see with the next one.
I believe that would translate to a 67%.
Can I do the math? Yes. Give me a percentage or out of 5. That's all I want.
Out of 10, actually, easier math to figure out the percentage than out of 5.
Who gives a hoot? That's why give me one or the other. If you give me a 2.5 out of 5, I don't need to know that's 50%.
Yeah.
Even though I do know it's 50%.
You know that's exactly middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get that.
I'm fine with 0 to 100% though.
Okay.
Speaking of 100%, this movie has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. But only, 12 reviewers?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's pretty indie film, so there's not a ton of reviews anyway.
Mm-hmm. And then Google users, our wild card babies, we got an 85%.
Pretty good.
Yeah, coming in hot. Even the 6.7 from those jerks over at IMDb is still good.
Yeah. So normally we watch the trailer, but this is a foreign film, so the trailer is not in English. So Collie's going to read a plot summary.
Second-generation Irani-German Parvis copes with life in his small hometown in Germany by indulging himself in pop culture, grinder dates, and raves. After being sentenced to community service at a refugee shelter, he develops a relationship with 2 siblings attempting to attain refugee status.
Hell yeah.
When I lean back in the chair, it sounded a little like a fart.
Did you do a fart?
No.
Colin did a fart. All right, so I guess let's dive right into it. One of the first things I noticed about this film was the cinematography.
It's nuts.
Gorgeous.
Nuts.
Right?
Yeah. There's something... Outdoor shots. Was it shot with a... Do you know...
I don't have any idea what it was shot with. All I know is that there were only 2 to 3 members of the crew who had ever worked in film production before, and everyone else was novice and taught themselves on this movie. So
it looks great. Like
the cinematographer, I did look up his credits, and while he doesn't have a ton, he did have some. So I figured that he was probably one of the ones with experience before. But it was gorgeous.
It was outstanding.
Every shot, I was like, oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. For some reason, shots outdoors, outside of it looks like government housing or whatever it is, their apartment building.
It's a refugee shelter.
No, not the...
Outside of Parvis's?
Where Parvis lived with his family. That's a refugee shelter?
No, that's suburbs.
Yeah, okay, suburbs, whatever. The apartment complex. I don't know why I thought it was government housing. It's early on.
I can kind of see where you're coming from. I think that's just the architectural
style
looks boxy, of the area. Yeah.
Anyway, it's pretty early on, but a couple minutes in, there's just this camera work that it swerves in between people, and it's so fucking fluid and looks gorgeous that I was like, this is probably a drone, which, fine, that just looks great. I just want to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This just it got my attention. Caught my attention.
Yeah.
Huge at the top.
Constantly in the film, just shot compositions, even indoors, just between people or outdoors. The colors are super saturated and vibrant, and just every shot was just gorgeous, I thought. I was constantly just being taken aback by the cinematography. Yeah. I don't think that we've watched a movie in a while where it had really intentional cinematography, I don't think.
Not like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I mentioned, but this is a German film set in Germany about an Iranian femme queer boy, which is unique representation on every level already.
Checks all the boxes. Yeah.
I think this movie does a lot, and we'll get into all of it, but it does a lot on representation levels that I don't see that often.
Absolutely.
And it's very layered and intersectional too, with not only, it doesn't center around these characters' queerness, but it also shows them being not only queer, but also second generation nationalized POC, or being immigrant, or whatever. There's a lot of other things going on, and that's really cool.
Intersectional is the best word for it, because you really are seeing the intersection of all of those of those identities interact. Yeah. And it's fascinating, and it's heartbreaking at times, especially when the cultural identity blends with his sexual or gender presentation, however you want to call it. You don't get this level of representation like
you
this.
Really
especially
don't.
Knowing how DIY this movie is.
Yeah.
It gives it an entire other level of cred.
Yeah.
Of of representation. Yeah.
And like, even how you were saying you thought this was an Iranian movie, but it turned out to be a German movie about Iranians. Like, even that, like, I don't think I've really watched a movie about immigrants that wasn't American immigrants.
Yeah. It's rare, and it does, like, shit, I didn't know anything about Germany's attitudes towards. I knew that there was a crisis a little bit ago, but I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, not a lot of that like reaches us here because we have enough of that.
You have to be
shit
really
going
fucking
on.
Yeah, you gotta be really intentional to know how like the Syrian refugee crisis affected Germany. But you know, it looks just as fucking heartless.
Yeah,
maybe not as violent, but
I don't know if anybody reaches as violently heartless levels that we do in America. I don't know. Maybe they do, but like, or, you know, besides like
you can be violent,
Israel or whatever,
you can be heartless, but you can't be as violent and heartless as the USA, baby.
Oh my god. Yeah. So yeah, all of that just on a representation level was really unique, refreshing, and cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drew me in.
Also, language-wise, they switch a lot between Farsi, German, and English throughout the whole movie. I do wish that there was some kind of signifier, like how they did in Handmaiden, like when they changed the color of the subtitles. Mm-hmm. I guess it doesn't really matter that much, but I just kind of like to know. It might add some context to like when they're speaking to each other. Mm-hmm. Just contextually, it seems like when the three main characters are speaking to each other, they are speaking in Farsi, and when they're not speaking to each other, they're in German. But I just kind of wish I knew. That's all. Yeah. Something you're missing as a non-speaker of any of those languages.
I would like that as well. Yeah. I don't know what else to do about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this movie is autobiographical a lot of ways to the director. Who is also a German-Iranian gay man. And this film opens, I think, with home movies footage. Yeah. And that is his home movies. That's him as a boy.
Good on his parents for letting him dress up as a Sailor Moon. Yeah. Like, that's the gay... Like, they open with one of the gayest things ever, which is this kid dressed as Sailor Moon and singing the theme song. Yeah.
Which he continues into his adulthood.
But. Absolutely. As you'll see at many prides this year. Sure. But yeah, at least good on his... And fuck, it seems like his parents are pretty rad and accepting if they're going to even be in his movie. So, hell yeah.
Yeah. For all intents and purposes, I think that his parents, basically are the characters that they play in this movie. I think that story is more or less true to his life, that they're super accepting and, you know, just want him to be himself or whatever. He also, the director has mentioned that, so he has all these hours and hours of home movie footage that he got from his dad. And he mentioned that, and this is something, a sort of theme that might play in a little bit later into this movie too, is that when he was watching through all these home movies, something he noticed was that they're not only like a documentation of his childhood, but also a documentation of how his immigrant father saw Germany and like what he thought was interesting about being in Germany. Yeah. Which is kind of just interesting.
Yeah, because your parents are ultimately it shows you what your parents care about.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of cool.
That is really cool to think about.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things presented about immigrant experience or even being second generation in this movie that either I've heard people talk, like immigrant people or second generation people talk about a lot, but not really seen in movies, or some stuff that I don't think about or haven't thought about, which is also cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're not the folks to speak on the immigrant's experience. Yeah. But just I've had those same revelations too. Like listening to, for me, it was a lot in college, going to school with Latinx students and hearing about their families' experiences and all that shit. Mm-hmm. It just you become insulated from it, and I think things are meant to make you insulated from it. You're not supposed to always know how difficult it is, because if you know how fucked up and brutal the immigration system is and why so many families have to come here on their own terms, I think it gives second generation and immigrant families just a much kinder, more human look than a lot of immigration services, governments want you to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And shouldn't need to be said, but borders are stupid, immigration,
fuck the borders.
Idiotic, the system of it at least.
Just let people walk. Like, let people walk around.
Yeah. We're first introduced to Parvis, who is the main guy character. Mm-hmm. I am going to use character names this time. There's only 3.
There's only 3. Hold on. What is the girl's name?
Bana or Banafshi. And that's actually the actor's name as well.
Okay.
Banafshi. And Aman is the other one, but we'll get to him. So they kind of establish Parvis as, like I said, like a queer femme boy. He is living kind of aimlessly. They introduce him as being kind of tied to more Western ideals of gayness, like obsession with physical form. We see him have like a little bit of an eating disorder.
Oh, yeah.
Having lots of casual sex, going to gay clubs and dancing a lot, like... Those all seem like kind of more Western tropes of male gayness.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's that little shot, I think right before the title card shows, where Parvis is just like making out with some dude at a club and he just goes, "So where are you from?" Mm-hmm. And then it's like, no hard feelings. Yeah, he's just fast and loose, baby.
Yeah. You know, not really...
He's probably, what, 18, 19?
Yeah, he's young. I don't know how young... I don't think they ever say how young they are. They go to bars, but bar age is probably different in Germany.
Yeah. I'd say
like
out of high school.
20 max.
Equivalent. 21
tops.
Yeah.
The one guy has braces. Like, come on.
He's I mean, like, Parvis is like...
This is definitely a Zoomer movie.
Very much so a Zoomer movie.
Very much so a Zoomer movie. Yeah. Which was kind of cool that Zoomers are old enough to be making movies, though. You think that's horrifying.
I think it's terrifying.
I just saw Collie's life flash before his eyes.
It's because of the Zoomer culture that I get exposed to.
Oh, okay.
So the Zoomer culture I get exposed to is not what, like, SNL had that dumb Zoomer skit, and it's just them saying, like, gang, fam, bruh. Yeah. And, like, I get that, but Zoomers, especially, surprise, surprise, in southern Indiana, well, actually all over the state of Indiana, not the most politically correct, quote unquote.
Okay.
So the Zoomers I know, regardless of race, all love saying the N-word.
Oh, jeez.
So that's, coming out the gate, it's always tough, because I'm like, all you teens, stop it. Stop saying the N-word. Don't make me explain why the black kids can say it, but we can't again. I don't want to go through that.
Gosh.
Number 2, Zoomers, all the fucking Zoomer YouTube videos they've showed me, streamers, content, commenters, whatever you want to call them, they all have the most, like, chaotic ADHD approach to video editing.
Yeah.
Where it's just, I can't, like, watch them. Because
it stresses you out.
I don't want to freak us all out, and all of us, the 2 of us in this room. But for an example to the audience, it will sound like, okay, so now we're going to walk up hey, what you good with it? Okay, now we're going to... And, like, this is him commenting on a game or something, and it's just talking as fast as they can, interspersed with screams and, like, hollers and laughing. And
are you saying they're a little too random for you?
Yes! And it's not the right kind of random. It's not, like, random when things are, like... I'm just, like, random. Like when someone's random.
Awkward sauce.
Oh my gosh. Remember Awkward Turtle or whatever? That's what I am, baby. That's cute when that happens. That's like Zoe. You remember Zoe Deschanel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute, awkward.
Okay.
This is perverse. I don't trust... The fact that... Why'd you bring up Zoomers? Because I don't trust this movie anymore now. I don't know.
These seem like, though... I watched some interviews with the crew and stuff.
Are they young? How old are they?
They are young. I don't know, like, their age or anything, but they're young. Okay. Probably early 20s. But they're, like, the more political, like, discourse type Zoomers.
Yeah.
They're, like, little... What's her name? Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, I don't see those kids.
Yeah.
I see the quote-unquote bad kids.
To be fair, you work in a shelter, which famously good kids probably mostly not going to. I don't know.
It happens. It was really weird the one time we had a kid who was brought there who had a violin with him, and he said he had to go to violin practice.
And you told him he was a dweeb.
And I was like...
And gave him a wedgie.
I was like, you're gonna get beat up for bringing that thing in here, man. Like...
Yeah.
No, the kids wouldn't beat him up for bringing a violin in. I don't have a joke. That's just a truth.
Just for legal reasons, we have to say. Speaking of legal reasons, Parvis encounters some legal trouble and has to do 120 hours of community service at a Red Cross refugee shelter.
You know, I thought that sounded like a lot, but 120 hours, that's not all that much.
It's like 3 weeks of full-time work.
Yeah. I have never thought about it because you always hear so-and-so celebrity gets X amount of community service. I've never thought about like 100 versus 1,000 hours in actual time. 100 hours, not that much. 1,000 hours, that's way too much.
It's a lot. It's a lot of hours.
I'm so sorry to get bogged down in the nitty-gritty of this film.
So that's actually another autobiographical element of this film because the writer-director, Faraj Shariat, himself also had to do community service in a refugee shelter in the German town Heidelsheim, where the film is set.
Okay.
And while he was doing that is when he came up with the idea for this movie, actually.
Makes sense.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when Parvis is strutting into this joint, he sees the other aggressively hetero guys and takes out his earrings. The filmmakers noted that this is an aspect of queerness that they wanted specifically to demonstrate, is how queer people are hyper aware of their environments and how they interact with them and what parts of themselves they can safely share within different environments and watching people make those choices as well.
I think that quality or feature or whatever was displayed incredibly well. That was so at the forefront of my brain. At that scene, I thought about my own times that I'm not queer. That's not something I have to worry about. But I still have to worry about hypermasculinity, especially as a kid, high schooler, and shit like that. Fuck, even today, because I don't, just because I wear, skinny jeans and I've worked in rural counties, that's gotten me looks. But this put that all in context for me, which is, I have so much safety, so much to fall back on. And privilege is what I'm getting at as a cis het guy that a queer person does not have. And that it's displayed incredibly well by that, just takes his earrings out and just looks like he wants to blend into the wall. You don't have to look at me. We don't have to talk. Please just leave me alone. We'll all be okay.
Yeah. And that's probably, that particular instance of that is probably the most, on the nose instance of that in this movie. But I think throughout the movie, not only with Parvis's character, but with the friend who we're going to meet in a minute, or friend/future boyfriend, you also see that with him in some ways, too, that each of them are only exposing certain aspects of themselves in certain environments all throughout the movie. Whether they're with family, whether they're at the club, whether they're at this refugee center, it's different sides of them. But it's it's still them in every scenario. It's just different shades.
Yeah. And we all have that to varying extents.
To some degree, yeah.
But that queer side is such a...
You have to make a conscious choice constantly and be so aware of how the people around you will react to your
it
queerness.
Can be a safety concern.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to navigate, and I think something that we don't see represented that often.
I agree.
Typically in a lot of queer films, it's more black and white. It's either I'm in the closet in this scenario, I'm out of the closet in this scenario, and this movie, I think, just shows a lot more shades.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil something for later, but Lindsay and I just because this is good for this, Lindsay and I just watched The Faculty, where Clea Duvall is in it, and I feel like you'll remember this because I feel like you just love it.
What, did they tease that she was going to be lesbian at the beginning? And then
yes! And I was when they teased it, and I thought this was oh
I'll
my
never
god,
forget it.
What a progressive film that she is utilizing her lesbianism in a way to insulate her, and I was this is so cool. Oh, okay.
But no, she instantly goes, "Ew, I would never be gay." And your heart breaks. Instantly.
Yeah, I was just what the fuck? What? No, she is okay.
Yeah, and she was out then too, which is sad. She did, but I'm a cheerleader, right around then too.
Yeah, it's probably just fucking studios.
Yeah, probably studios thing, but
This was 98.
That's my least favorite part about that movie.
It's really, the way they treat her character too. for the remainder of the movie is pretty like...
And then like force her into a straight relationship at the end.
Yeah.
She's like obsessed with the guy and totally changes for her.
It really kind of like bummed me out when it happened.
Yeah.
I was really upset when they didn't make Clea Duvall gay.
It made me depressed. But we're not talking about the fact.
No. It just, that popped in my mind.
Yeah.
It was,
Because it's fresh.
Yep.
Yeah, so one of the first things he has to do at this refugee center is try and translate for a deportation case.
This stressed me out because I wanted to know what he had like. This movie is very show not tell. We don't really get a lot of, okay, so here's where we're going and this is what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
It just, we're at a new place.
We got to figure it out.
Keep up.
I like that. I like that about this, though.
That, it kind of stresses me out sometimes because I miss a lot of details. I'm not great.
There were a couple things that took
around.
a little longer to fill in, and that was one of them.
But when it became apparent that he was translating for the deportation case, I was just like, no, what the fuck? Why are you having a kid do this? I wanted to know what he had not consented to, because it's not really like he probably had any say, but like, did they just give this to him because he's, Iranian? Or did he say, hey, I know how to speak Farsi? And
yeah, I think the thing was that he spoke Farsi well enough that they thought he could be a translator, because they're all, the people running this place are not Iranian. They're mostly white people.
They don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
The quality.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, you speak it? Sure.
Yeah. They thought he spoke it well enough that he could translate, but because he's second generation, he doesn't understand local dialects and stuff that are from that country, even though he speaks the language, so he couldn't understand her.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was tough.
And it ultimately ends with him basically, how I read it was he like freaks out because he can't understand this woman, and in an attempt to basically put a stay in for her deportation, claims that she's just pregnant.
Yeah.
It's bullshitting, right?
I think that was also my read. Yeah.
Okay.
Was like, he couldn't really understand what she was saying. And then he, tried to make up some symptoms of something she might have.
Not sleeping, which is like, man, come on.
And, it's clear that, he really just wants to help her. Obviously. Nobody wants to, be the reason somebody gets deported. But also he can't understand her, and he's just trying to think of whatever he can off the top of his head to help. But, yeah, ultimately he gets really stressed out, says that she's pregnant, and then he's crying afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. That would suck. I'd hate to have to be a translator.
To be sentenced to this. It's not even something you chose.
Exactly. If anything, it shows the heart, the lack thereof, of the people who put that program into place, punitively providing a translator.
Yeah.
You don't get a translator who is a professional translator.
Yeah.
No. You just get this kid who might know some Farsi.
Yeah.
And and the kid's being punished, so it just completely fucks over whoever's being deported.
Yeah. Which they love to do.
Absolutely.
That's their
Governments
main goal.
love fucking over immigrants.
Yeah. And while he's outside crying is when he meets his friend Aman. Yeah, Aman, nice guy. I don't know, just seems like he wants to be friends. He does lie to Aman at first and act like he's also a refugee at the center.
Yeah.
Which was weird, but I guess that's something young guys do.
Teenagers do love to lie.
Mm-hmm.
Teenagers love lying.
Yeah, so...
I lied a ton as a teenager, though.
Yeah.
I get it. Just about stupid stuff.
I only lied to my mom.
I just wanted to be cooler than I was. I didn't think I was cool, so I thought I had to make up stuff about me to prove that I was cool.
But then everybody knows you're a liar.
But then everyone knew I was a liar, and so no one believed anything that I said. The other thing, though, is I would just make up lies that no one could really prove.
Yeah.
But that also didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yeah, I hung out all day with the lead singer of Streetlight Manifesto. And everyone's like, all right, we don't really care if you did that or didn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, but I did.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I've read the entire Godfather trilogy.
Yeah.
No one's going to fact check me on that.
Yeah.
But also everyone's like, oh God, I do not care if you've read that.
Yeah. I knew a lot of liar guys as a young person.
It's a classic trope that you need.
I used to work with a guy who had some real crazy ones, who said that, he was arrested at the age of 16 for cocaine and then like sent to the military as like a punishment, had to go to Brazil and romp through the woods.
God. That's good. See, I've never been that bold.
And then he said that he had to work undercover or they were gonna arrest him again, and now he's in his 20s when he's telling me this story. He had to work undercover and that he had to do drugs undercover or else like the drug people would know that he was undercover, and he needed me to drop him off at these drug people's house all the time. Oh my God.
Can I tell you a really embarrassing thing I did back when I used to drink?
Yes.
So I was in New York City and I needed to get a cab back to my aunt's apartment. Mm-hmm. And I was very, very drunk. I was there alone, and I left like a comedy club, and I got in the cab. I was 21, 22 at the time, and I guess that, but like my little liar guy gave a little like, hey, do something. And for this entire like 15-minute drive,
the devil on your shoulder?
Devil on my shoulder, mm-hmm. I pretended that I was an Australian law professor. Ooh. And used
I did pretend that I was English
Australian accent for an entire drive, which must have been abysmal. And I cannot imagine this driver just being like, what is this wasted white kid going in and out of an Australian accent telling me about his law job back in Queensland?
I did, when I was 6 years old one time, pretend to be my own twin that had been living in England, and I did do an English accent for a while to a friend.
That's good. That's good. I think it's good to do these things.
She did not believe me. So, where were we? Aman is a nice friend at first, but the rest of the Iranian crew that are there, because there's like a group of them there, seem to not be mostly as chill with like the gayness, because Parvis he's readable. Like, mm-hmm. He's walks into a room and everyone knows he's gay type gay. So everyone knows, mm-hmm. Where he stands on that. And the rest of the crew are not as chill about that. And they actually tell Aman not to talk to him because, quote, that shit's contagious, which was a little intense.
Yeah.
I heard some people more familiar with immigration like talking about this, and I thought this was an interesting perspective that I don't really think about, but resettlement organizations or refugee camps, like whatever type places like this, often resettle immigrants with people from their same country, mm-hmm. thinking it will make transition easier, which assumes that the reason the person is resettling or emigrating or whatever, their reasoning is divorced from the people of their home country. And with queer people, that's obviously often not the case. Like, the reason that they're leaving their home countries, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but a lot of the time has to do with being endangered because of their queer status.
Yeah.
So then putting them in a situation where they're just with their people from their home country again is actually putting them into an unsafe environment, when the intention is that will make the environment safe or feel more comfortable being around their people.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it is actually the opposite. And also that a lot of these type of places are run by religious organizations, which makes it even more unsafe for a queer person to disclose their status even. I just thought that was like a really interesting way to look at that I don't really think about, but is true. I think. Yeah. And we see that with Aman, like, he never, says in words what's going on with him, but he does experience same-sex attraction in this movie and is not able to really express that with his other Iranian friends who are constantly ragging on this dude for being queer. Yeah. Because it's not as accepted in their culture. Speaking of being queer, next scene is Parvis going to do sex with a random.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I remember this one. Yeah.
And it's good gay sex. They fully eat ass.
Yeah, I mean, we just get it all.
And I thought that was great representation. There's great sex representation in this movie. We've talked about it on pod before, but there's often not good representation, if any. Yeah. And this seemed like really good, accurate gay sex representation. And even later in the movie, we also get masturbation representation, fingering his own ass type stuff.
Yeah, we get a very, I'd say a good 5 to 7 minutes of on-screen, like, filth.
But in the good way, I think.
I mean, look, I'm sitting here watching all of it, and I'm like, yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were eating ass on film.
They were eating ass. You do not
see that on film.
I don't see it a lot.
Yeah. I just thought that was incredible.
Was the guy even holding him up at all?
He was sitting on face.
And then Parvis was jerking it with one hand. Mm-hmm. So is he just squatting?
Maybe a combo of squatting with, like, minor support from arms.
He definitely needs support.
Mm-hmm. He's skinny, though. He can probably squat easy.
He's so tiny.
Yeah. He's skinny and he's young. The knee's still in full function. Trying to figure out the logistics of getting his ass ate.
Why go that? Oh, because he wants to masturbate. I was going to say, why not go face down? No, go. That seems like...
You could do either way.
I don't know.
It's a positions thing.
I have never eaten ass, so I don't know.
Really?
I've never eaten ass.
You could try it.
I know I could.
You're getting married soon. You can eat ass for the first time.
I'm well aware. The ass eating... Look, what my fiance and I discuss about ass eating behind closed doors is our business.
Okay.
But let it be known, Collie J's no prude. I'm aware of ass eating. And it's been on the table before.
Okay. One of these days.
That thinks that you were like, you've never eaten ass?
I don't know. I just think it's something most people either do or receive at least once.
Really? Not common. At least, here's what I'll say. Straights?
Yeah.
Straights and their butts. We don't like our butts.
Well, I think more so than you thinking straight people don't do it is that straight men would never tell each other.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah.
Because that seems gay.
Yeah. Obviously, there's...
Butts are gay, canonically.
Yeah. Butts, look, I think butts are gay. I do want to say that. All butts. ABAG.
Getting that tattooed on my ass. Actually considering it.
ABAG. All butts are gay, baby.
Can we get twin tats?
Oh, I'd get an ABAG tattoo because that's my belief. I'll add that to my anti-belly button platform.
Oh my gosh. Wait, the belly button conversation was pre-recording, so...
We don't need to get into it. Just know that I'm anti-belly button in every respect.
I found out something new about my friend today. Okay, so, yeah. Good sex representation.
Yeah.
Afterwards, also... good conversation representation. This is something, the conversation that Parvis and the man he sleeps with, who is a white man, have after sex is something that I've heard people of color talk about happening to them a lot. And I don't think I've ever seen the conversation happen on screen, though, to my recollection.
No.
So what happens is this white man who just slept with an Iranian boy, oh, that makes it sound bad. Iranian man.
Iranian man.
Sorry.
Yeah. Everything is consensual and good.
Consensual, good, above board. But he does make a comment like, that was my first time having sex with someone like you, aka someone ethnic, hairy, and dark-skinned.
Yeah, that felt weird.
Weird is one way to describe it.
That wasn't a huge
racist, fan. Maybe.
I was like, it's... Why are you doing this? What's your end game, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was gross, and it obviously made Parvis really uncomfortable, and, like, why do you need to even say anything, first of all? But I know, like, I've heard people say not only that they've heard stuff like that, like, after, but even before. Mm-hmm. Like, I know, like, Asian men talk a lot about how a lot of Grindr profiles and stuff will say, like, no Asians, or reverse, like, being fetishized for your culture, like for being POC or whatever. Don't do that, folks.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's just very fucked up.
It's very fucked up.
I'm glad this movie represented it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Parvis, though, rolls it right off, and that's where we get the titular line. He says, no hard feelings. I'm not really into pretentious whiteys either.
Got his ass.
And then smokes a cig. He looks cool as hell. And, you know, the filmmakers of this movie are all, or at least majority, POC. And not only was their goal to represent the POC viewpoints or things that are realistic to them, to their experiences, but they also did specifically want white people to see this too and to understand, like, that's gross. Like, that specifically is gross, but also just understand where they're coming from in a lot of aspects and to help educate us as well.
I agree. I think it's a very helpful demonstration. This movie, for a white audience, does make you think about yourself and the role as a perpetrator of racism, which we've all been. And I think it's important. I've been thinking about this a lot lately with racism, and I don't know if I'm just fucking going off preaching or something, but, like, if you're white, you've been racist, and doesn't mean that you are a racist, but, like, I think accepting that is incredibly important. And this movie does a really great job, I think, at showing more subtle ways racism can be exhibited or executed by white folks.
Yeah. It also, I mean, this movie examines privilege in a big way, too.
Totally.
Even within, like, POC communities. So it's, like, really getting different levels of things going on here. Like, because Parvis is a nationalized Iranian, he experiences his relationship with race a lot differently, or even with queerness, a lot differently than his two friends that he meets, which we have barely gotten into yet at this point, but we're about to, who are immigrant Iranians.
Yeah.
And has a lot of privileges over them.
I think we did just introduce them.
We mentioned Aman.
Okay.
We're getting to the sister right now.
Okay.
Him and Aman clearly had a connection when they were at the center before. So he kind of pops into their room unexpectedly to try and, I don't know, further explore that connection they had.
Yeah, when you're into someone, you just kind of, you know, show up around them.
Yeah.
You just kind of make opportunities available.
Yeah. So he shows up at their room. Aman lives there with his sister, Banafshi. Over time, Banafshi and Parvis, so the sister and the main guy, he becomes her GBF, her gay best friend.
Yes.
To a straight girl.
Yeah.
So they become besties, and him and Aman just have, like, sexual tension for a while.
Yeah, they see each other, around each other, across the room glances mostly. Little talks here and there.
Or a little, we've walked too close to each other and maybe our shoulders have swiped a little bit or something.
Who knows?
What I did think was cool about Banafshi's character, though, too, was that even though this movie the story's mostly centered around these two men, they didn't diminish her character at all.
Not at all. Basically, the rest of the movie is very dedicated to Banafshi.
Yeah, and even the actor who played Parvish suggested that there be more scenes with just him and Banafshi, like bonding or chatting or whatever, so that their friendship and their relationship had more agency on its own and her character wasn't reduced to just being, like, the sister of a guy he likes, too. She was a more fully developed, well-rounded character.
Absolutely.
That was pretty cool. It didn't feel too male. And she's a boss. She's cool.
She rules.
And she does try and wingman the guys, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Parvish does go to a costume party in Sailor Moon cosplay.
There we go. Yep. Yeah.
Call back to his home movies from his childhood. And gets sloppy-ass drunk and invites Aman and Banafshi to the club. Yeah. But by the time they get there, he's so sloppy that they basically just have to take him home.
Yeah. He's a mess. He like consistent throughout the movie. He can't hold his liquor.
No.
Yeah.
But he's young, and we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. No shaming, just pointing. Yeah.
They get him back to his house and help him take a bath and, like, are helping him through everything. Somehow him being so sloppy is what finally bonds the boys, and they do their first kiss.
Look. As a boy, I can tell you there is nothing hotter than another guy being just, like, so drunk that he can't stand up.
Really?
No!
Because I was gonna say, this is the opposite of my experience.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, this was, like, what the first part in the movie where I was like, what the fuck? wait, now? Now you're like, hubba hubba. Like, I get it. The whole bath thing was, like, I can see how that sexual tension was building.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, can you rinse me? Can you hold this while I, like, run my hands through my hair? Sure, I get how that's built. But, like, I don't know. When someone's sloppy drunk, that's, like, a huge turn off.
Turn off, yeah. I had a specific memory to a time when I was having, as a young person, a will they won't they with someone, and I got sloppy drunk and they had to take care of me and famously had to get somebody to help carry me upstairs to their apartment and help me just everything.
Puke and live for the rest of the night and like
that was the night that the definite won't they happened.
All right. Yeah.
And we were strictly won't they from then on. That, I think, killed whatever attraction was there.
This was just like, I was like, this is just in service of the story. They're just getting them together now because it works time-wise, but come on.
It seemed like this wouldn't have been the time.
Aman would not have been that into this.
Aman and Banafshi do end up staying the night at his house, and they all sleep in the same bed. It's very cute. And in the morning, Banafshi leaves the boys alone. They're full-fledged having a thing now.
Yeah.
They do more smooching. They're doing wrestling. They're being cute and snuggling.
They're dating now. Yeah.
Also in this time, they have a little more conversation about being a multicultural and bilingual person. Their experience with that and with language. Because Aman only speaks Farsi, really. He's not really comfortable with German.
Yeah.
Parvis speaks both, but is German
dominant,
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just talking about, like, Aman says that he has a hard enough time being himself anyway, and being himself speaking German's even harder, which I can understand that. Not having, like, fully all the words to say what you want.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah. And having to probably consciously think about the language every time you want to speak. That's got to be hard. But then also Parvis says that he doesn't feel understood by his parents, who also only speak Farsi, I think, or
like mostly. I think they kind of go
in
and out. Like if you've ever hung out with a bilingual family, they'll.
But maybe also because he can't express himself fully, only speaking Farsi. So I thought it's cool that they're having that conversation in this movie.
Around language, absolutely. Yeah.
They're fully having a relationship now, but they have to be secret about it because Aman is not out. It's complicated because Parvis lives with his family, with his parents and everything, so you don't necessarily want to be, like, fucking all the time there. When Dad walks in, famously, the first night.
Seems cool with it, though.
Seems cool with it, but, like, Aman's not really, like, out, so he's himself not cool with it. And then Aman's living in the refugee center with his sister. So it's like, there's not like a great spot to bone.
Yeah.
And as we all know as former young people, you make do.
You just figure out where you can go. The costume storage of the theater.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
You just figure something works.
Yeah, you figure it out. Filmmakers did comment that he's not, quote unquote out, but they thought that the concept of outness itself is a Western idea, and that they kind of saw him as letting people in versus having to come out. It's like a different philosophy, I guess. He like makes the choice to let Parvis in or to let his sister in, and he makes a choice who he keeps that part of himself private from too, and that outness or like being out isn't necessarily the goal.
Sure.
Which I just thought was interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I think anything that questions or subverts kind of a primary foundational idea of really anything, like any philosophy or anything like, so like with queerness, for example, such in Western culture, especially, out is such like I don't want to discredit anyone's process, but I think there has become, through media, there's kind of a manufactured idea of what being out can look like. And I think, and that's just how it is. People learn how to come out a lot of times, I think, through the movies and TV shows that they consume. And so I think that's really fascinating to look at it just from the completely opposite side, and that like this is something that's incredibly personal to me. It's not a fuck you if you don't get to see it. It's just you've earned it. It's it's a show of intimacy. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. So while they're sneaking around, they are boning at the like sort of rec center area of the refugee center.
They get back and do it again.
And they get caught by a guy.
Yeah.
A physical altercation goes down.
Fuck. Yeah.
Between Aman and this guy.
This guy is the same guy who said that shit's contagious. Mm-hmm. We just, the only thing we know about this guy is that he's a homophobe, really.
Yeah. Aman seems like, even though it's kind of his choice to like be so private with their relationship, he's not really happy with that. Like I think he even says that out loud, that he's not happy with having to hide or he's not into it. And when they get caught too, he says something like, we don't have to hide. But then not only beats the homophobe's ass, but also then like pushes Parvis off and says fuck off.
Yeah. That I just took to be just like standard rage.
Yeah. They're young and having rage.
Yeah. I get that rage filled sometimes. I'll just anyone in my way I'd be mean to. Yeah. I hate that. It sucks.
So they're kind of, for a time, like, not really speaking after that, too.
Yeah.
Parvis goes home one night and finds that his mom's laptop is open and she was looking at apartments in Iran.
Yeah, yearning for home.
Yeah, and when he confronts her about it, I mean, they have a whole conversation about her saying, like, we did all this for you, like, we worked so hard, we moved here just for you to have, like, a better life, and we've never felt like we belonged here in 30 years, and now to think that you also don't feel like you belong here makes it all seem worthless. That was like a pretty heartbreaking conversation.
Yeah. That whole scene that took place like in the loading dock of a grocery store mm-hmm. was really touching to me. Mm-hmm. The mom basically just accepts her son's gay, and it additionally kind of hears him out on his experience with that intersection of his queerness and his culture, which it seems like, regardless of his mom's best efforts, there's still just going to be friction there. Yeah. It was a really beautiful moving scene. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it was good. And after that, we find out that Banafshi is going to be deported.
Yeah. This, sucked me in. At this point, I was, really fucking...
There's real stakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would I have a little bit of a problem with this movie and stakes because a lot of the early film, it's just kind of getting to know. Mm-hmm. And I famously am such a oh baby, I need story. I need something to grab onto. Not just vibes. Yeah. So when this came along, I was like, yes. Yeah. All right, I'm in.
You got a little bit of politics going on or something.
Just stakes.
Yeah.
Just okay, here's something that is going to we have to move around.
Yeah, that is a big conflict in the movie. One of the first things that happens for her with that is that her boss offers to green card marry her, mm-hmm. but at the same time tries to... what do you say? He sexually harasses her about it?
Yeah.
He's basically, I'll do it if you sleep with me. He says you'd have to know what my penis looks like.
Yeah, I do something for you, you do something for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nasty. She's not having it.
Doesn't work for her.
No.
Yeah. I understand.
And good for her. She stands up to him, which had to be hard.
He set that boundary, absolutely. Yeah.
She held off telling her brother for a long time.
I don't endorse that, but I understand it.
Mm-hmm. I think she was hoping that she'd be able to appeal or do something to make this not be true.
Yeah.
And probably didn't want to face the reality of what that meant for them. It seems like they struggled so much just trying to be a part of German life, German culture, Germany, some might say.
Yeah.
And to think that this means they don't know what they're going to do next. Do they go back? They don't want to go back. Do they go somewhere else? She mentions maybe going to Switzerland, and he's like, yeah, and do this all again? No, that sucks. This was so much work. And also, the third stake is that Aman's in love with Parvis. So now there's another person involved in their relationship. So what do you do around that?
Yeah, it just all of a sudden becomes so...
heavy?
Yeah, there's so much weight to everything.
Even, Parvis says at some point to them, I almost want to apologize that I was born into such different circumstances than y'all, because, like, this is not stuff he's ever really had to think through that much, and now he's confronted with it. Like, how difficult their experience is.
Having that tenuous status.
Yeah.
That kind of hanging by a thread. Yeah, this movie's all about, just exposing everyone's privileges and what's the opposite of a privilege? Factors about them that can be weaponized against them. Qualities about them. Yeah. That's such a long-winded, dumb way to say it, but I can't think of a word. You're just going to look up opposite of privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disenfranchisement, disqualification, exclusion, prohibition, inhibition. Concession?
Qualities about them that are weaponized to make them disenfranchised.
Disadvantage.
Disadvantages. Yeah.
Handicaps? No.
Handicaps is, I think disadvantage is good because you can, same kind of logic. Like, it is disadvantageous to be a POC in America.
Yeah.
As opposed to white, yeah.
Okay. There is a cool lady who warns Banafshi in the middle of the night that whatever the German version of ICE is coming.
Yeah.
To deport her, like, in the middle of the night. And that lady also arranges with Parv to come and get them and take them to a safe house, like somewhere in the country, which rocks that they had this person on their side.
Yeah.
And that trip of Parvis taking them out to the country is when him and Aman make up. And they're so in love.
They're back in love, baby.
And they're so cute.
Yes, they are.
The chemistry, even between those two actors, was crazy. Like, it was really good, I think.
Yeah, I bought it. It all seemed very authentic to me.
I watched a lot of gay films in the last week.
Yeah.
And leaves a lot to be desired in the chemistry arenas in many of them. So it was very refreshing to see for me. A lot of other movies are like, okay, this dude willing to kiss a dude, this dude also willing to kiss a dude.
That's all we got.
Really gay? Questionable. Could go either way. Willing to kiss a dude? That's all we need.
We got
it. But yeah, their chemistry was off the charts, and I thought that rocked. And they do bone. And I think that's the first time we see them bone, actually.
I liked the sex scene a lot more because I was like, there's some fucking weight to this fucking.
Yeah, and you feel the difference in chemistry between when he's just having random hookups with grinder guys versus when he's having, like, I'm in love sex.
Totally. Yeah.
That's great to see, too. And also, just thinking of it from, like, a mainstream audience perspective, like, I don't think people get to see a lot of we're in love gay sex, too.
No.
Between gay men.
Yeah.
It's such a trope that they, like, have a lot of casual sex with whoever, that's often what's represented, even in queer stuff. So, having we're in love sex is really good.
It was great.
Yeah, and in this scene, too, is Banafshi tells Parvis, makes him promise to take care of her brother. And then she bolts, like, without saying goodbye to her brother, really, which is sad. But I get it, but also...
Yeah. I think it's stupid she ran, but yeah.
She bolted and just, like, left him a voicemail.
Yeah.
That said, I'll be in touch soon, basically. That and, like, the two guys being in love is kind of...
Pretty much it.
Roll creds.
Yeah. There's that last line or something. It's like, don't stop looking at me, or...
He says, don't stop seeing me, which is a callback to the tub scene where he looked through the bubbles and said, I see you, but then...
Oh, I see what that... Yeah.
Aman was, like, a little more weighted about his little joke and was like, yeah, I know you do.
I didn't get that earlier.
Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah, so it was a callback to that, and it was really sweet, and roll creds.
Roll creds. Yeah.
And in the creds, we, of course, get the Sailor Moon theme song.
Was that what that was?
Yeah, which was kind of a vibe kill, I thought, but, like I get it, because, like, obviously it tracks with what happened in the movie, like, with the Sailor Moon stuff, but also, like, the end of the movie was so, like, emotional and, like, heartfelt and romantic.
Just give me a slow piano track.
Yeah, that's, like, really, I needed a slow piano track to, like, vibe out to with some tears for a minute. And instead I'm getting, like, Ichaka-i Sailor Moon, like, whatever it was, like, kind of zonked me out of it. All right, so what do you rate this out of 5?
Out of 5, this gets a 4 out of 4 stars from me.
Okay, pretty good from a Collie.
Yeah, this gets 4 stars.
Yeah.
How about you?
No elaboration, just 4 stars.
4 stars. I was a little bored in the beginning when it was just kind of
the setup.
Mm-hmm. I found that I needed a little more substance and a little more something to keep me attached. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, outstanding.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I gave this a 4.5.
Hell yeah.
I mean, we talked about how many cool things there were about queerness in this film. It was so beautiful in every way, I thought. It was a really sweet movie, but also, like, aesthetically beautiful. And like I said, like, it's really refreshing to have a queer film that doesn't center around the queerness of the characters. And it's also not just classic, like, a coming out story or like a homophobic violence story or just like the same stories that we get over and over again. So it didn't just focus on their queerness, but also like on the whole picture of who these people are, their culture, their privileges, all that kind of stuff. And also was way more unapologetically queer than we even normally see in queer films.
Absolutely.
So, excellent representation. I thought, it was just refreshing overall. I think that's a great word for it to me.
Yeah.
Just a lot of stuff you never see.
It was great.
Yeah.
Great pick.
All right. 4 out of 5 and a 4. So, bada bing, bada boom, baby.
Put it in the box.
Now it's time for ScreenVomit. So in this part of the show, we talk about whatever else we've been watching, movies, shows, whatever. And so, Collie, what you been watching?
I have not had a ton, but I got a couple here. Okay. All right. I don't know if I talked about this. Have I talked about the Wicker Man on pod?
No.
I did watch the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man.
Okay. Have you seen the original too, or just...
I have only seen Nicolas Cage version. First of all...
They're almost 2 completely different movies, honestly.
Yeah. I am very bummed that the famous bees scene is actually like a deleted scene.
Really?
It's not in the main cut, the standard cut. So I felt very ripped off because I paid to rent this. It wasn't on anything.
And you're waiting for bees the whole time.
Yeah, and I'm waiting, and it just doesn't happen. Okay. And I'm just like, fuck.
I hate it when that happens.
All right, it's what it is.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, you gotta see it. Like, everything's wrong.
I've watched it, but it's been so long that, like, I don't remember a lot of the details about it.
Everything is wrong.
Yeah.
But it feels so right.
Mm-hmm.
There is a disturbing amount of Nicolas Cage punching women in the head.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Really, like, oh man, this is the 4th or 5th time this has happened. This is upsetting.
Yeah.
But aside from that, Nicolas Cage really given, like, one of the nuttier.
Yeah.
Like, a great,
nutty Nick.
A nutty Nick. If
Yeah.
you need a good nutty Nick, there's a reason it has the reputation it does.
Uh-huh.
Gotta watch it. I watched 13 Going on 30.
Okay.
Starring Yennefer Garner. All right.
And?
It's fine.
Well, who was the other guy in it? Mark
Ruffalo.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo's in it. He does his role. Jennifer Garner does the adequate, ooh, I'm a kid.
Yeah.
And I was fine with it. It was all right.
Yeah.
And then, as mentioned earlier, I did watch The Faculty with... Which is insane.
There's so many people in that movie, too.
So many.
You got Jon Stewart.
You have Jon Stewart, Josh Hartnett, fucking Elijah Wood. Every background character you've ever seen in any other movie is in it. Like,
I think my review on Letterboxd is like, hey, did you know every person who was a celebrity in 1998 was in this movie?
Every single one. Yeah. Famke Janssen.
Yeah.
As the teacher that fucks Josh Hartnett. Yeah. I mean, I haven't really processed that because I watched it last night.
Yeah.
And
casting is crazy.
Casting's crazy.
The casting goes crazy.
It's just an extended Buffy episode, though.
Okay. I've never watched Buffy, actually.
It's an extended X-Files episode,
gays
though.
Don't cancel me.
I know. I don't know how you're even...
It is actually a crime that I never watched Buffy. I was a Charmed kid. So I feel like you're either one or the other, and I was Charmed. So sorry.
It's good. Yeah. Buffy's worth the first.
Everybody tells me you would love Buffy, watch Buffy. It's gay as hell, and I'm like, yeah, I probably would. I was a Charmed guy though, so I'm sorry.
You're not missing out. Anyway, that's really all I got for right now.
Really?
Because we just recorded the other day.
Mm-hmm. My turn then?
Yeah, your turn. Go off.
Okay. I watched some cool stuff this week. Okay, I'll start with the unhinged one. I watched Little Ashes, which is from like 2008. It's Robert Pattinson playing gay Salvador Dali, which I didn't...
I'm just shaking my head over here like, this is wrong. This is all wrong. So wrong.
Okay, I can't believe that nobody told me that this movie existed. I just found out about this movie, and I had to watch it instantly. I watched it the same day I found out about it, because I was like,
when
this movie can't... 2008, I think.
Oh, okay.
Like, how has nobody told me that there's a RP being a gay guy? Yeah, he only looks like the picture that's on the poster for, like, 5 minutes of the movie, actually.
Okay. That's a bummer.
I know, it is a bummer, but... I'll show you. He has a really good look before that. I didn't find this out until after the movie, and I posted about it online, and people were responding that he allegedly actually comes in the movie. Like, he actually jacks off to completion in the movie. Like, there's a scene where he's jacking off.
Yeah.
And he does come in the scene, but, like, allegedly it's real.
It's real cum.
Yeah. Which I didn't know. There is a full nudie scene, too.
Cool.
But, like, I just feel like I would have watched it a little differently if I thought that it was real.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. It's on Hoopla for free. Overall, the movie, out of, like... Okay, so we all know we have a weird fascination with Robert Pattinson. It's not necessarily, like... We call it standum, but it's ironic standum, almost.
It is ironic standum. And look, if he does something that is... not good, I am not going to defend him very hard.
But we're so fascinated to see whatever he does. He also,
Absolutely.
Salvador Dali, famously Spanish. He does attempt to have a Spanish accent next to all actual Spanish actors.
Bueno.
It usually means, in his version, it usually means that he's enunciating his T's and D's a little harder.
I was going to say, why didn't he do the F?
I don't know.
That's all the Spanish accent is.
So, yeah, it's pretty rough on the accent front, which I loved. I thought was hilarious.
I would love that too.
He only went for it even for, like, the first half of the movie and then totally bails on it. And even when he was going for it, it was not going well. So, it was hysterical. But just on a scale of, like, the older, deeper cut RP films that I've watched, it actually wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to say that it was a good movie.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining throughout. There was queerness, and it was fine. It was entertaining enough.
Nice.
You know? It was fine. Yeah. So Little Ashes is that one. Okay. I watched A History of Violence.
Oh, yeah!
Which I'd never seen.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that was really good. I think, I guess I wouldn't consider myself a huge Cronenhead, a big Cronenberg guy. But on the scale of all the Cronenberg films I've seen, probably his best, I think. Like, Maps to the Stars, I really love this story a lot more.
Yeah.
But sometimes visually is weird. I thought History of Violence had a more complete, like, everything about it was pretty good.
Where
like,
do you hold The Fly and all that? Because that's my top
I haven't
Cronenberg.
seen The Fly.
Okay,
so
that's my top Cronenberg.
Yeah, I'm not, like I said, a huge Cronenhead, but I have seen Videodrome. I've seen, I don't know, a couple of, I don't remember now.
If you've seen Scanners is not that good.
Yeah.
Scanners, I think, gets kind of bogged down. Because I love Cronenberg. And I'm like I'm trying to be like a completionist.
He's like fine. But
but he does have like highs and lows.
Yeah.
And History of Violence, I think, is a really underrated gem.
Good. Mm-hmm.
It's outstanding.
So,
Viggo Mortensen, 69's in it.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that was tight. You don't see a lot of straight 69.
You don't see much 69 in I'm talking 69 representation here.
Yeah. Okay, and then I watched a short film called Flex, which I loved. Directed by Matt Porter, written by and stars the comedian Charles Gould. It's a bisexual man film, which is like very underrepresented community.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really good representation and also really entertaining and well done. I was like thoroughly surprised by it. I've watched some other Matt Porter shorts and they've all been pretty decent. Mm-hmm. But this was just such really good bisexual man representation. And it was funny and just thought it was, good short. Flex. Incredible. All right, 2 more. I watched Thunder Road, directed and written by and stars Jim Cummings.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a short film that preceded it, but honestly, just stick to the feature.
Okay.
The short film's like fine, but they did it the same thing and a lot better in the feature.
Yeah.
It was really good, and I was
Nice.
really surprised by it because it is a very indie film. There's also some cool people in it. Macon Blair was in it, who famously directed I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore.
Yeah.
And Jocelyn DeBoer, who also wrote and directed some shorts that I've talked about on here before. And the movie Greener Grass. I don't know if you've ever seen that. But anyway, so there's cool people in it, and Jim Cummings just goes he goes so hard. He goes crazy in this movie.
Yeah.
He commits just 150% and goes absolutely off. I did see a Letterboxd review that was this felt like Jim Cummings' one-man show, which I kind of get, but he did really good.
One-man shows can be good. I have seen a
really
good one-man show, yeah.
So I was super into it. The first opening scene is 20 minutes long, and it's just all him losing his mind. Is very, very cool.
Amazing.
Thunder Road was a really good movie.
Hell yeah.
So watch out. Last one. I watched Bad Lieutenant.
Oh, with Harvey Keitel?
The original, yeah. And I loved it.
Oh, it's... yeah, you're either going to love that or... I'm surprised... Well, not really. That movie is really just... There's not much story. It's just a lot of vibes.
It's a lot of vibes and boy being bad, doing bad stuff.
He's just being a bad guy. He's being a bad lieutenant.
It felt a lot like Taxi Driver to me.
Yes.
In that sort of way. But honestly... movie guys are gonna hate me, but I think I liked it better than Taxi Driver.
That's fine. I love Taxi Driver, but yes, Bad Lieutenant is incredible.
Yeah.
Harvey Keitel is such a fucking... You talk about putting on a tour de force with Jim Cummings and Thunder Road. Harvey Keitel.
He also went very hard.
Yeah. Oh man. Wait, do you see Dong in it? I feel like I've heard that there was a cut where he showed his dong.
There's definitely a scene where he's jacking off, but you don't see dong in it.
I feel like I remember feeling slighted that it wasn't featured.
I don't think there was on-screen dong. The on-screen dong doesn't stick with me as much as it does you, though, so like you said about boobs before, it just washes over me. Unless there's something unusual going on. It just washes over me. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I really liked the movie, so I thought it was well done, and it was just cool and fun. Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a fun movie unless you like...
They're being so bad.
He's just the worst.
He's literally so bad.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Lindsay said it reminded her of Taxi Driver meets Uncut Gems, and she hates both those movies.
I guess I can see that. I watched it right after actually watching Trees Lounge, which is it's a Steve Buscemi movie that he directed.
I saw you post about this. Yeah.
And in Trees Lounge is also kind of about a scumbag who does too many substances and kind of romps around town being sort of useless and causing trouble. So I watched that movie and then watched Bad Lieutenant. So Bad Lieutenant just felt like the escalation of the previous movie.
Just a better done film, yeah.
Well, it was maybe he started where Trees Lounge was and escalated to being Bad Lieutenant. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess if I'm going to mention Trees Lounge, it was a fine film, I think.
All right.
It was just fine.
I think seeing young Steve Buscemi is always cool. Yeah,
he does date teenage Chloe Sevigny in the movie. Teenage Chloe Sevigny rocked. She was gorge. I think she's actually 21 in the film, but her character's 17 or 16 or something.
It's good they made her younger.
Yeah. But she rocks in the film, but it was just a fine movie.
Sure.
So many people have told me it's so good. Oh, it's such a good movie, such a great film, but I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I was okay.
Right.
Okay, but that's all I watched this week.
Hell yeah.
So, plugs, baby. All right, so of course, we have to thank Thin Swimmer for our theme song. Haven't done that in a while. And you can find us on Instagram and everywhere else at ScreenVomit. One word on all the things. Give us a subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us a rating and review, please. And you can send us an email at screenvomitpod@gmail.com with your thoughts on this movie or other movies or suggest movies.
Hey, if you want to check out a podcast that is officially now, it's dead, but it's still up. It's about labor and stuff. It's called How to Fire Your Boss. It's up on all the stuff. It's just my voice up there.
Hell yeah. And I don't know what we'll be watching next week yet, so stay tuned to our Instagram for that. And we'll see you next week, baby. Bye-bye.
Bye.